Get ready, Friar Faithful. This is the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Jackson swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field. He has done it again. Unbelievable.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Schilt.
Ultimately, we're here.
From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today, the Padres take on the Washington Nationals in the second game of a three-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Nats, left-hander Mitchell Parker, and for the Padres, right-hander Yu Darvish. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you from inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 3:45 p.m. here in California as the Padres continue this 10-game road trip. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we have a lot to do. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Schilt. We'll hear from Nationals broadcaster Bob Carpenter. We'll also check in with Tony Gwynn Jr. in just a little bit, our keys to the game, and much, much more to come. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres entered today 53-44. They entered the day sitting in the National League's final wild card spot. Meanwhile, the Nationals come in 38-59. Nationals not playing well right now. They've lost 5 in a row, 9 of their last 10 games. They've been outscored 70-31 in that span. Since the beginning of June, the Nats are only 10-29. Well, last night the Padres began this road trip to start the ceremonial second half in D.C. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
Padres led 2-0 going to the 8th inning yesterday. Jake Cronenworth plated a run with a sac fly in the second. Elias Diaz laid down a safety squeeze bunt in the 7th inning to make it 2-0. In between, Dylan Cease struck out 10 in 5 1/3 scoreless innings. Adrian Morejon finished the 6th inning. Jeremiah Estrada pitched the scoreless 7th inning. It was Jason Adam who took the mound for the top of the 8th inning. Padres still leading 2-0. There was a runner on base for the Nationals, C.J. Abrams.
And the 2-2 to Abrams, hit in the air to right center field, really well struck. Jackson Merrill goes back, he will watch, it's gonna go. Game-tying 2-run homer for C.J. Abrams, and this game is 2-2 in the bottom of the 8th.
We went to the top of the 9th inning, still tied at 2. Nationals closer Kyle Finnegan came in. The Padres put runners on first and third with nobody out. Elias Diaz stepped in.
Squaring again, bunts it towards first base. Lowe will have to field it and flip to first with Garcia covering. For the second time tonight, Elias Diaz executes a squeeze bunt as Cronenworth comes in to score, and the Padres retake the lead. It's 3-2.
Padres weren't done after Elias Diaz laid down his second safety squeeze of the night. They loaded the bases with only 1 out. The batter was Manny Machado.
Manny swings, hits it in the air to deep left field. Wood is going back. He looks up. It's going to go! Manny Machado hits the Padres' first grand slam of 2025. And it's a big one against Kyle Finnegan here in the 9th inning as the Padres break it open and go ahead 7-2.
The 13th grand slam of Manny's career, 18th home run of his season. Final score yesterday, the Padres 7 and the Nationals 2. Padres putting together a 5-run top of the 9th inning to take that lead, and they go on to win by that final score of 7-2. And now the Padres trying to keep it rolling in the middle game of this 3-game series coming up in just a little bit. As always, if you want to get involved on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can find me on X at Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV. Instagram DMs open as well. Sammy Lev there too. You can also comment on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream. Let me know who you are, where you're tuned in from on this beautiful Saturday here in San Diego. And if you have a key to today's game, let me know what that key is. I may just read it live here on the air as our pregame coverage continues. Let's go to our nation's capital.
let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Tony Gwynn Jr. in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Tony, before we focus on today's matchup, I do want to revisit an aspect from yesterday's win that I thought was really, really impressive. And yes, Dylan Cease was really good. Manny Machado has the grand slam late. But how about Elias Diaz, who's a catcher who I can't imagine is asked to bunt all that often, getting down, not one, but two safety squeeze bunts. Tony, to me, that was really impressive yesterday from Elias Diaz, his ability to execute in that kind of spot.
Yeah, no, it was extremely impressive. I would just say that he's a pro, though.
Yeah.
And, those type of things should be expected of a pro, that you can get a bunt down. And even though he's a catcher and probably isn't asked to do it a lot, when you are asked to do it, you're expected to get it down. And he did it twice. And that was important because at the time, Padres had very little offense going. They had some opportunities and they had cashed all of them in. But those two runs in particular were big just to get a little breathing room.
Yeah, they were really, really big. And then Manny has the grand slam in the ninth inning to essentially put the game away. Let's talk about a couple of Padres hitters right now. They're doing some really good things. Manny is one of them. But Fernando Tatis Jr., he's reached base safely in 16 consecutive games. He's in the midst of a 7-game hitting streak. What are you seeing from Fernando the last couple of weeks that maybe is a little different than what we saw for that kind of rough two-month stretch?
Couple of things. I think he's used his willingness to use the whole field.
Yeah.
I think has been a big factor. But I think even before that, his ability to control the strike zone. I think that's where it starts for Toddy. And you started to see it before the numbers started to kind of stack up a little bit. You started to see signs of that. He was walking more than he was punching out right before the break. And when you can when he's in that mode, he's not chasing off the plate. He's laying off either laying off the sinker in or actually getting the barrel to it. That's when he's at his best. And so the Padres are certainly hopeful that this is the start of seeing Toddy get back to being an MVP type candidate.
Xander Bogaerts also playing really well lately, Tony. And I was thinking about it yesterday as I'm watching the game. Xander has that great hustle double, that bloop down the right field line, and he's moving so well. He's now 16 for 17 in stolen base opportunities. And I was thinking about talking to Xander in spring training about the sprints he was doing in Aruba. And being a little bit lighter this year. And then you pair that with the defense he's played. Is it me, and I haven't looked at sprint speed or StatCast or any of it, it seems to me like not only is he hitting better as of late, Tony, but he's moving really well, whether it be the stolen bases or defensively this year, right?
Now, I think, I don't know that he's running faster per se, but his body is certainly moving better. There's more fluidity and how he's moving left and right from a defensive standpoint. And I think that speaks to the work he put in before. At his age, he's not going to really add speed, but you can get your body in the right kind of shape so that you can be able to maintain over the course of 162 games. I think the work that he did during the offseason, I think from a defensive standpoint and a base running standpoint has really shown. But let's be honest with ourselves. It's more about what he's done with the bat here over the last month and some change that has really been a difference maker. And when you have a guy like Xander swinging it and a guy like Crone starting to swing it, all of a sudden that lineup starts to lengthen out. And it looks a little bit like 2024. Those guys are going to be vital, I think, especially with what we've seen Mike Schilt do, dropping Crone to that 7th spot. You start getting production as we saw in that last inning. That rally started with the 7, 8, 9 hitters and them getting on and doing their thing. And so that's going to be important. That's be something we're watching down the stretch, but having a guy like Bogey swinging it the way he has been very important.
Tony, let's finish up with you, Darvish. He makes his 3rd start today since returning from the IL. Your thoughts on what you has done so far in his return?
I think it's been as expected, right? He missed all season. He comes back. He kind of knocked off. He looked great in the 1st inning and then kind of knocked off some rust. Was able to kind of carry that a little bit further in his last start. And I just fully expect him to get sharper and sharper. As long as he's staying healthy. as the season goes along.
On the other side of this pitching matchup, left-hander Mitchell Parker has been hit very hard this year. However, he was good against the Padres back in late June in San Diego. We'll talk more about him coming up a little bit later. Tony, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Jesse coming up at 3:35 here in California. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sam.
All right, that's Tony Gwynn Jr. joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game. Again, first pitch coming up at 3:45 in Washington, D.C. Of course, 3:45 local time here in San Diego, 6:45 in D.C. Padres trying to make it a second straight win to begin this 10-game road trip that will take them to D.C., then 3 games in Miami. Marlins actually playing very well as of late despite their record, and then 4 games to wrap up the road trip in St. Louis. One thing the Padres continue to do is beat up on teams under 500. Padres have won 33 of their 45 games after last night against teams under 500 this season. So you look at this road trip, you consider where the Marlins are at, including last night, these 6 games, and the Padres now 1-0 in the 6 against the Nationals and the Marlins, 2 teams that are under 500, despite, again, the Marlins playing better as of late. They're big games for the Padres, and to their credit, they have done nicely against teams under 500. Now, against teams over 500, or I should say at 500 or better, it's been a little bit different, but under 500, that's been a good part of the Padres season to this point, and certainly one of the reasons why the Padres entered today 9 games above 500. A lot to do on our pregame coverage. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Schilt. We'll tell you who's hot, who's not. Take a look at some headlines from around the major leagues. Plus, a little bit later, we revisit a conversation from earlier this week here on 97.3 The Fan with Nationals broadcaster, longtime Nationals broadcaster Bob Carpenter, and we'll also have a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup between young left-hander Mitchell Parker and right-hander Yu Darvish, making his 3rd start of the season on the mound for San Diego. First pitch coming up at 3:45. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues after this. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network on this Saturday afternoon. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 3:45 in Washington, D.C. Padres against the Nationals. Padres come in 53-44. The Nationals at 38-59. Nationals 21 games below 500. And we talked about this yesterday. Jesse and Tony talked about it as well. But this is a very different Nationals team than the one we saw in San Diego back in late June. Not so much because of the players on the field, but remember, the Nationals just a couple of weeks ago fired their longtime manager, Davey Martinez. They fired their longtime general manager, Mike Rizzo, two guys that had not only been there a long time, but also won a World Series together in 2019. And again, interim manager for the Nationals, as we discussed yesterday, is Miguel Cairo. Lineup for the Padres today looks like this. Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field leading off. Luis Arraez at first base batting second. Manny Machado, the DH, batting third. Gavin Sheets in left field batting cleanup. Xander Bogaerts at shortstop batting fifth. Jackson Merrill in center field batting sixth. Jose Iglesias at third base batting seventh. Jake Cronenworth at second base batting eighth. And Martin Maldonado doing the catching and batting ninth. Right-hander Yu Darvish on the mound today for the Padres. Left-hander Mitchell Parker on the mound for the Nationals after the Padres won 7-2 in last night's series opener in D.C. A lot of good from that game, including the two safety squeeze bunts from Elias Diaz, a great throw by Fernando Tatis Jr. in the seventh inning to get a double play. Josh Bell trying to go second to third on a fly ball with the Nationals trailing by 2 in that spot. And the Padres finding a way in yesterday's game, doing some good fundamental things, but also breaking out the power in the ninth inning with the Manny Machado grand slam. With all that in mind, let's go to D.C. hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
Mike, can we just reflect on last night's ball game? I know you guys work on stuff all the time, but still to see the execution like you guys did with so many different aspects of the game last night, how reaffirming is that about the process that you guys are going through?
Yeah, I mean, we play a lot of good baseball, and execution is the bottom line of this game, right? The best teams that execute consistently are going to be teams that shake the hands most consistently, and last night was on display, and just a good overall baseball game, all the way around. The defensive side of it was really good. Toddy's throw was great. The play that was a sneaky, great baseball play was Wandy stepping off, checking the runner, giving it to Bogey, and Bogey recognizing based on his speed and where the runner was, how to accelerate there and not give up the ground to the chance for it home. So that was a good, great baseball play. Diaz twice with the safety squeezes, did his part, got it down. Ideally on the first base side, harder to defend that way. And then nice touch to it against some tougher guys. But then the third base reads from Bogey and Crony were outstanding as well. So, a lot of good things took place in the game yesterday.
Especially satisfying coming back off the break. I mean, all those things got tested right away.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there was no kind of ease back into it, 4 days off, whatever could happen. No, guys showed up ready to go and enjoyed their break rightfully and time to get after it. And they got after it last night and expect to do the same today.
You mentioned the throw by Fernando. Can you just talk for a moment about his arm and how fun it is to see him do what he's capable of doing? And still, any surprise that guys still challenge him at that time?
Yeah, I mean, listen, people are going to take their shot, and make them make a play. But the thing that's impressive about Toddy of many things is, the skill set's unbelievable. The arm is clearly a shutdown arm, but it's the ability to get himself in the right position, throw, get out of it, quickly, and then the accuracy is really impressive as well. And the ability to throw with accuracy regardless of arm angle is amazing.
Yu Darvish going for you. How positive has it been to see his progress in these first two ball games?
Very, very much so. When you see a guy with that kind of presence, that kind of, history and what he means to our club on the mound, just means a lot. And then to go out and see him perform is also important, and him recovering and like he's recovered and being able to take the ball has been nice as well. And look forward to seeing him pitch tonight.
Jake has been hitting lefties a lot better, getting on against lefties a lot better than, say, the last couple of years at least. What does that do for you?
Ton. Listen, always feel like, Jake is an everyday player, Manny, Bogey, Toddy. Sheets is turning that everyday guy. There's matchups, righty versus and lefties that are tough on the same side. But Jake's really done a nice job, and I loved his approach last night. And he got the bunt down against the lefty and said, okay, I'm going to do this and use this moment here. And then he stayed on the ball, the other way consistently. And not that that's an absolute, but, it's big. So him being able to have those consistent at-bats and have productive at-bats all throughout our lineup is going to be important, righty or lefty.
That was Padres manager Mike Schilt earlier today inside the Padres dugout. We'll hear more from Mike on our post-game coverage coming up later on this afternoon. Sam Levitt back with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 3:45. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
Let's begin with a look at the hot category. Manny Machado, 5 home runs, 13 RBIs in 13 games during the month of July. Only Kyle Stowers of the Marlins has more RBIs in the National League this month. Only Stowers and Kyle Schwarber have more home runs in the NL this month than Manny Machado. Fernando Tatis Jr. also in the hot category. He's hitting .385 in a 7-game hitting streak. He's also reached base safely in 16 consecutive games. He has a .438 on base percentage in that 16-game span. Xander Bogaerts hitting .396 in his last 15 games. We put the hot category as well. And for the Nationals, C.J. Abrams hitting .307 with a home run in a 6-game hitting streak. He's hitting .305 against his former team, the Padres, and nearly 60 at-bats against them in his career now. In the not category, James Wood, he's 0 for 14 with 11 strikeouts in his last 4 games. Wood is now just 3 for 27 with 16 strikeouts in 7 career games against the Padres. Martin Maldonado, he's just 1 for 9 in his last 4 games, and Martin back in the lineup today for the Padres. And that's a quick look at who's hot, who's not, as we get ready for Game 2 of this 3-game series. Well, I do have some unfortunate news to pass along to you. I don't have a ton of news, ton of information for you, but I'll let you know what I know. Today's game is delayed due to inclement weather in Washington, D.C. However, I can tell you there's no tarp on the field right now in D.C., but I'm being told that today's game is delayed due to inclement weather in D.C. So we'll keep you posted on what we continue to hear, and we will also keep you company right here on the Padres Radio Network, 97.3 The Fan, until today's game begins. But again, I'm being told 3:45 p.m. first pitch will not happen. We'll be later than that, so we will have at least a slight delay before first pitch today in Washington, D.C. But again, we'll be with you right until first pitch. If that's 10 minutes, 15-minute delay, if that's I'm not even going to say what I was just about to say. It's a longer delay than that. I was about to put a time on it. I know better than that. Hopefully a short delay, but I am being told we will be delayed due to inclement weather in Washington, D.C. So we'll keep you company until then. We'll step aside when we come back. We'll take you around the horn, give you some headlines from around the major leagues, our keys to the game. We'll also hear from Bob Carpenter, Nationals broadcaster, has done a great job with the Washington Nationals for a very long time. He gives a little insight on the Nats. We'll also have a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup between Yu Darvish and Mitchell Parker. Again, we will have a delayed start in D.C. today. As we get more info, we will be sure to pass it along to you. Today's game coming up in just a little bit between the Nats and the Padres. Our pregame coverage continues after this on the Padres Radio Network.
Hey, San Diego.
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft. Since 1925, your water should be perfect. As we get ready for the middle game of this three-game series between the Padres and the Washington Nationals, Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres today, left-hander Mitchell Parker on the mound for the Washington Nationals. And again, we will have at least a slight delay before first pitch due to inclement weather in the Washington, D.C. area. So we will not go out to Jesse and Tony at 3:35. We will not have first pitch right at 3:45. Beyond that, you know what I know, and we'll be sure to pass along any information on the delay before today's game when we have more information. But again, the good news, we'll be with you up until first pitch, up until we send things out to Jesse and Tony coming up a little bit later on. Let's take you around the horn, give you some quick headlines from around the major leagues.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Couple of quick headlines from around the major leagues. The Orioles have had to shut down their promising right-hander Grayson Rodriguez as he was working his way back from an elbow injury. Interim manager Tony Mansolino told the media yesterday that there's a little bit of elbow discomfort from the issue that Rodriguez had in spring training. So he remains on the IL, and he has had a setback in his return from an elbow injury. The Arizona Diamondbacks, their second baseman, all-star second baseman, this is a pretty scary story. Ketel Marte, he was placed on the restricted list yesterday after his home was burglarized during the All-Star break. Manager Torey Lovullo saying, quote, he's dealing with a personal issue, so he asked for some time off, time away, just to get grounded and get himself back to where he can come back here and play and be a force for us. So it's kind of a day-to-day situation. The report here from ESPN saying that numerous personal items and jewelry were stolen. No one was at home when the burglary occurred, and police say the investigation is ongoing. But Ketel Marte now on the restricted list for the Arizona Diamondbacks after a burglary of his home during the All-Star break. So not a very good story there at all. And that's a quick look at some headlines from around the major leagues. We'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up a little bit later on. Well, Nationals television broadcaster Bob Carpenter joined the Braden Soprenet show yesterday here on 97.3 The Fan. Of course, it's been a tough season for the Nationals. They entered today 21 games below 500. We mentioned earlier, Mike Rizzo fired as general manager. Davey Martinez fired from the manager's seat. Both those guys won a World Series with the Nats back in 2019. And I thought this was a really interesting answer from Bob Carpenter yesterday here on 97.3 The Fan. And I do want to mention this was yesterday before the game yesterday, so some of the numbers might be a little bit off entering today's game, but it was from yesterday, just so you know. But here was Nationals broadcaster Bob Carpenter on the Nationals, and then some good insight into comparing the Nats to the Padres, what they're doing right now.
Well, we are a young team going through serious growing pains. You know, and CJ is starting to find more consistency, I'll say, lately. You know, he could have, if we had a better record and maybe a little more national attention, he might have gone back to his second All-Star game. You know, but we all knew James Wood was going to get that spot on the team. And then, of course, Mackenzie Gore, they named him to the team, and he threw a scoreless inning the other night. Mackenzie's doing great. Our next good starting pitcher is Jake Irvin, who's in his third year. He's steady, having a hard time keeping the ball in the ballpark. And then we've got two good relievers. Al Finnegan's our closer, 18 saves. He hasn't had a save in a month because the Nats have fallen 20 games under 500. Brad Lord, a setup guy for him, is the other guy. And beyond that, Braden, our pitching staff is kind of a mess. Our ERA is 5.21. Only the Rockies are higher. We're slightly higher than Oakland, well, the A's. And you can't win with a staff 5+ ERA at the major league level. You just can't. And, that's our big problem. Pitching has just really, really been rough. We're in the bottom 3 of the National League in defense. And here's the odd thing. I had to look 3 times at the stat sheet yesterday when I was putting some numbers down for today. The Nationals' batting average is 1 point under the Padres. The Nationals have scored 34 runs more than the Padres. The Nationals have hit 11 home runs more than the Padres, and we have 16 more stolen bases than the Padres. Now, for a team that's got Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, all the other, good players that the Pods have on that team, and you guys are, 8 over 500 and still in the divisional race and certainly the wild card race. Amazing to me because our fans here are always upset about our lack of offense. And they talk about that more than our lack of pitching. And we have better numbers than the Padres as a team in like 3 different categories. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. It just doesn't make any sense. But it just goes to show the value of pitching in Major League Baseball. And if you're not pitching well, you have little or nothing to work with. And it's really brutal. I'm just going to look at OPS here for the heck of it. The Padres' OPS is 689. The Nationals is 700. There's another category. And if you talk to the average baseball fan, if you walked out of your studio today and ran into a bunch of folks in San Diego who follow the Padres, and you said, are the Washington Nationals a better offensive team than the Padres? They would laugh at you. But these numbers are there. And like I said, I had to look at them like 3 times. I couldn't believe it. But the Padres have the 3rd best ERA in the league. It's a great indication of how you better start with pitching and defense, even though the Pods are kind of down there with us in defense in the bottom 4 in the league. But when you have pitching, you are always in the game. You always have a chance to win, and you can get by with not the greatest offense. And if this San Diego team can do more offensively in the second half of the season, they're going to give the Dodgers and the Giants and everybody else a pretty good run for their money.
That was Nationals broadcaster Bob Carpenter on the Braden Soprenet show yesterday here on 97.3 The Fan. I thought a really interesting answer there from Bob Carpenter, detailing some of the Nationals' struggles and also pointing out that there are a number of categories where the Nationals have been better offensively than the Padres this season. But hey, in the category that counts the most, Padres entered today 9 games above 500, and the Nats entered today 21 games below 500. But that's sometimes how baseball works, doesn't it? All right, first pitch coming up in just a little bit in Washington, D.C. Again, in case you're just joining us, we will have a slight weather delay at least before first pitch in D.C., originally scheduled for 3:40. You're being told that there will be somewhat of a delay, at least before first pitch. Hopefully not a long delay, but as we get more information, we'll continue to keep you posted, and we will keep you company here on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network up until first pitch, whenever that may be. Let's update you on Michael King and the latest on the injury front for Washington as well.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit him up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Well, the latest on Michael King, he continues to play quote-unquote aggressive catch, according to Mike Schultz, in throwing bullpens. He threw his first formal bullpen session last week. So Michael King continues to move in the right direction, but no timetable yet on when Michael King may return or when exactly he's going to face hitters. But again, continues to throw bullpens and play quote-unquote aggressive catch. Really nothing else to update you on via the Padres front. As far as the Nationals, they continue to be without Dylan Cruz. He's been out since May with an oblique injury, but according to reports, he is close to beginning a rehab assignment. Gabriel Ruiz also continues to be out for the Nationals with a concussion. And that is a look at the injury report. Latest news on the Padres and the Nationals as they get ready for the middle game of this 3-game series. Let's give you our keys to the middle game of this 3-game set.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by El Centro Motors Ford. Meet your new Ford General Manager, Greg Ryan, now at El Centro Motors Ford, your new Ford truck, Bronco, and SUV HQ. Call Greg directly at 619-944-0774.
Key number one, create separation. For most of last night, the Padres were playing yet another super close game. The Padres have played 54 games this season that have been decided by 1 or 2 runs, including 6 of their last 11 games. They're 34-20 in games decided by 1 or 2 runs this season. However, yesterday, they did something that they have not done a lot of this season. That is create separation with that 5-run 9th inning. And quite frankly, against the team that's 21 games below 500, Padres got to do more of that. You don't need to be playing these super close games against this Nationals team. Of course, if you're not playing a super close game, you want to be winning by a lot, not losing by a lot, but creating more separation, taking some pressure off the bullpen. Hey, Padres won yesterday, but they had to use Estrada. They had to use Morahone. They had to use Adam, who gave up a 2-run home run. It would be nice for the Padres to score more and create separation. That would certainly be nice today. Key number 2, be better against Abrams. CJ Abrams had a game-tying 2-run home run in the 8th inning yesterday. In his last 31 games, he's hitting .331 with 8 doubles, 2 triples, 5 home runs, 15 RBIs, and 9 stolen bases. Got to find a way to slow down CJ Abrams, the shortstop and the leadoff man for Washington. Also find a way to slow down Brady House. Yeah, Brady House. Number 6 hitter, third baseman, was really good yesterday. House has now hit safely in 7 of his last 8 games. He's hitting .344 in that span with 2 doubles, 2 home runs, and 5 RBIs. And key number 3, pound Parker. National starter Mitchell Parker has allowed the highest hard hit percentage in Major League Baseball this season among pitchers with at least 80 innings. At nearly 50%, he gets hit hard. However, he picked up a win against the Padres in San Diego last month. We're going to talk more about that. But getting to Parker, hitting him hard, scoring some runs, some crooked numbers against this left-hander, that's a big key in today's game and kind of ties into creating separation, taking some pressure off the bullpen. We'll see if the Padres can do that offensively today, and that's a look at our keys to today's game. Again, we do have a delay before first pitch in Washington, D.C. I told you about 5-10 minutes ago that the tarp was not on the field at Nationals Park in D.C. Well, I'm sorry to say it is now going on the field. So buckle up. We may be waiting around a little bit to get this one underway in D.C. But again, don't go anywhere. We're going to be with you up until first pitch, whenever that may be, right here on the Padres Radio Network. When we come back, a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup between Yu Darvish and Mitchell Parker. Much, much more to do on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. You're listening Radio Network.
You're listening to the Eco.
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch is coming up in just a little while at Nationals Park in D.C. Again, due to inclement weather in the Washington, D.C. area. We will have a delay before first pitch. That's all the info we have for you right now. We will not start at 3:45, though. I can tell you that much as we wait out some weather in the D.C. area, but we'll keep you company here on the Padres Radio Network all the way until first pitch. And if you're just joining us for our upcoming rain delay programming, really we do two things to give you a little preview. Number one, we do take your phone calls at 833-288-0973. Again, the phone number 833-288-0973. So if you want to call in, talk a little Padres, whatever you want to talk about, you want to talk trade deadline, you want to talk about yesterday's game, you want to talk about today's game, whatever it might be, the phone lines are open during our rain delay programming at 833-288-0973. And we'll also revisit some of what you might have missed here on 97.3 The Fan over the course of the last week. So we'll have plenty of rain delay programming for you, keep you all entertained, all up to speed as we get ready for today's game coming up in a little while in Washington, D.C. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We take a look at scores from around the major leagues. The Marlins beat the Royals again in Miami 3-1. Marlins playing well. They're all of a sudden just 5 games below 500 after getting off to a really, really rough start. But the Marlins win again 3-1. Padres going to Miami starting on Monday. Blue Jays beat the Giants 6-3 in Toronto. Tyler Heineman a home run in that game in the 8th inning for Toronto. That was after Willy Adames homered in that game earlier for the Giants. But again, the Blue Jays winning that game by a final score of 6-3. Everything else is going on right now or coming up later. Reds lead the Mets 5-2 in New York in the 6th inning. Phillies lead the Angels 1-0 in Philadelphia in the 2nd. Everything else coming up a little bit later. White Sox and the Pirates at 3:40 in Pittsburgh. Orioles and the Rays in Tampa Bay at 4:05. Tigers and the Rangers in Arlington at 4:05. A's and the Guardians in Cleveland at 4:10. Yankees and the Braves in Atlanta at 4:15. Red Sox and the Cubs in Chicago at 4:15. Cardinals and the Diamondbacks in Arizona at 4:15. Twins and the Rockies in Colorado at 5:10. Brewers and the Dodgers in LA at 6:10. And finally, Astros and the Mariners at 6:40 in Seattle. And that's a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard this Saturday across the major leagues. Again, phone number to call if you want to get involved during our rain delay programming, talk anything Padres related, is 833-288-0973. Let's tell you what to watch for in today's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in today's game. Can Luis Arise continue to get it going? Luis had 2 hits last night, but he entered yesterday's game in a 1-for-20 skid. So what am I watching for in today's game was yesterday and the start of the second half, the start of Luis really getting it going here this season. Now, Luis has had an up and down year. There was a stretch of games for a while there in June and July where he was swinging the bat really well, but he's also had some very uncharacteristic skids this season, like the 1-for-20 he entered last night with. Luis is batting .282 on the year. And look, bottom line, that's far below where he typically has been in his career. So we're going to see here in the second half if Luis is going to get super, super hot enough to finish more towards where he usually is, which is well above 300. So what to watch for in today's game? Can Luis Arise replicate what he did last night? Had a couple of hits in last night's win. Can Luis do it again in the middle game of this series? Our starting pitching matchup today, Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres, left-hander Mitchell Parker on the mound for the Washington Nationals. Let's dive in.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Right-hander Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres today. 38 years old. He makes his third start since returning from the IL earlier this month after being sidelined with an elbow injury since spring training. His last start was Saturday against the Phillies. He went 4 2/3 innings, 4 runs given up on 83 pitches. In his 2025 debut on July 7th, he allowed 2 runs in 3 2/3 innings. His command has been a little tough so far in this early portion. 6 walks and 2 hit batters and 8 1/3 combined innings. This will be Yu Darvish's 5th career start against the Nationals, his 4th as a San Diego Padre. Meanwhile, left-hander Mitchell Parker on the mound for the Nats. He's only 25 years old, a 5.12 ERA in 19 starts this season, 102 innings, 105 hits given up. His last start in Milwaukee on Friday allowed a season-high 7 earned runs in 4 2/3 innings. He's 2-9 with a 6.85 ERA in his last 14 starts. That's after he had a 1.39 ERA in his first 5 starts. However, one of those 2 wins in that span, one of the 2 in those 14 starts, that was against the Padres back on June 23rd. He was really good in San Diego last month, allowed just 3 runs in 6 innings of work. So, big question today, can the Padres hit a guy who gets hit hard, like we said earlier, highest hard hit percentage in the major leagues among pitchers with at least 80 innings of work, but the Padres really didn't do that in that start in San Diego. Can the Padres get him today in a big way? We'll see. That's a look at our starting pitching matchup today between Yu Darvish and Mitchell Parker. As always, we appreciate you listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft. Since 1925, your water should be perfect. Well, again, first pitch was originally scheduled for 3:45, but we do have a delay before first pitch due to inclement weather in the Washington, D.C. area. So we'll step aside for a moment, but when we come back, we'll continue to talk Padres baseball, perhaps also revisit some of the content from earlier this week here on 97.3 The Fan. If you want to call in, phone lines are open during our rain delay programming at 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. The phone number to call if you want to get involved, talk Padres, talk last night's game, talk today's game, talk trade deadline, whatever you want to do. You want dating advice? I might offer that up as well. Who knows? Again, we'll keep you posted on when first pitch will be today in Washington, D.C., but we are in a weather delay before first pitch. We're back after this on the Padres Radio Network.
This is Dan Fulkerson with Bada Fulkerson Law Group, San Diego's favorite personal injury law firm. Here to help if you're ever in a car accident, motorcycle accident.
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios, an extended edition of our pregame coverage today. Why? Well, I wish it was for a better reason. I don't know. Well, I guess like if they said, hey, Sam, we need to give you more time because people just love you so much. I guess that would be a good reason. However, the reason is because we have a weather delay in Washington, D.C. So an extended edition of our pregame coverage. If you want to call in, get involved, 833-288-0973. Again, the phone number, 833-288-0973. We'll keep you company throughout the rain delay. And unfortunately, we don't have any other information right now as far as when today's game will begin. But when we know, we'll let you know. And when we know, we'll let you know when we'll go out to Jesse and Tony and when today's game will get underway in Washington, D.C. But until then, we'll keep you company and we will keep the phone lines open, 833-288-0973. Talk anything Padres related you want to discuss. Let's go to the phones. We go to Sean calling in. Sean, you kick us off on this rain delay coverage here on the Padres Radio Network. Go ahead.
All right, Sammy, I got a question about you and broadcasting. I think it was spring training this year or last year that you got to do the broadcasting, and it was great.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know if they gave you another chance to do the broadcasting, and you had to choose a co-broadcaster, and you could only choose one, and you had to pick between Dan Cilio and Hacksaw Hamilton. Who would it be and why?
All right, Sean. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know either of those guys, so I have no answer for you. All right, 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. Well, it's a great way to start our phone calls. It really makes me want to take more during our rain delay coverage. All right. Let's, well, what do we do now? 833-288-0973. Thought we'd have something Padres related to discuss. Lead me into the next topic and whatnot. I guess that's on me for entertaining phone calls during this rain delay coverage. Again, we're getting ready for first pitch coming up at 3:45. I'm being told the tarp has gone on the field in Washington, D.C. I'd been told it got on the field a little bit earlier from one of my sources in D.C., but unfortunately, they were just kind of holding it there and getting things ready to be put on the field, and they finally have put the tarp on the field. All right, let's go to Sonny in Portland calling in. Sonny, you're on the Padres Radio Network. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, Sam? I appreciate your all your work. I listen almost daily while I'm working or whatever, so appreciate you. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
So you know what I thought would be a fun rain delay game is to kind of go through the lineup and figure out Mike Schilt's nicknames for each of the players.
Okay. I can do that for you. Sonny, let's see. And you tell me if you agree. Fernando Tatis Jr.
Definitely Toddy, right?
Toddy, yeah. Luis Arise, I would say Louis. Manny would be Manny. Gavin Sheetsy says Sheetsy. So we'll go with Sheetsy. Xander Bogaerts, that's Bogey. Jackson, they just call him Jackson. There is none for Jackson.
Is it Merrily?
No, they just call him Jackson. Yeah, he's a tough one. Jose Iglesias, just Jose. Nobody calls him Iggy. I mean, maybe you call him Candelita, which is his singing name. Jake Cronenworth, Crony, and Martin Maldonado definitely is called at times Maldy. So there you go. And then Yu Darvish typically is called you, not Darby or Yui. So,
Darby.
No, they call him you. So that's what I got for you, Sonny. Anything else?
No, that was fun. Thanks.
All right, you got it. Let's go to Clay in the South Bay calling in. Clay, you're on the Padres Radio Network on this Saturday during our rain delay coverage. Go ahead.
Hey, Sammy, I just want to bring up a point about yesterday's game. I mean, obviously the end result was great. You know, we finally got some splash room at the end of the game, so it didn't get so tight and you had to worry about it. But the issue I've got is, have you noticed that patience at the plate is still not a thing until later in the game? I mean, you know, it's kind of mind-numbing sometimes when we get the guy on base and we get runners in scoring position, and then, you know, two guys were walked yesterday, and the next guy up, first pitch swinging. I mean, it's like, come on, did you not just see what happened? I mean, I still think that patience at the plate for the Padres is of vital importance for them to be successful in getting into the bullpens of the other guys, but also selecting pitches better. What do you think, Sammy?
Yeah, Clay, you know what? Look, I think the quality of the at-bats has actually been a bit better as of late overall. I'll say this, though, and I'll build off of what you said. I don't know that it's a patience thing to me. I will say this, though. One thing you would like to see to me, there are really two things you really want to see offensively from this team. The first is just more overall offense. I mean, there's just no way around it. They need to score more runs, as simple as that sounds. I mean, you look at a lot of the offensive categories last couple of months, they just don't score a lot of runs. They don't slug. It's no secret. I mean, yesterday they were able to put up 7 and had a big swing late, but they've got to score more runs in general for a lot of reasons. And number 2, the other thing I would really like to see him do, we've seen too many guys like a Mike Soroka who comes in with a high ERA, and the Padres are unable to really get to him. I mean, they got to him for a run yesterday, but he ends up going 5 innings, 1 run. Feels like that's happened a lot with some guys you feel like the Padres should be able to hit. Today's a good example. Whenever this game begins, Mitchell Parker for the Nationals. This should be a guy the Padres are able to hit and square up and put up some crooked numbers against. He gets hit really, really hard. So that's what I'm looking for as well. Not just to score more, Clay, but for this team to also hit, kind of weaker opposing starting pitching better. And again, it goes back to one of our keys to the game. It creates separation for you. It takes some pressure off the rest of your team, off the rest of your bullpen. So look, Clay, whether it's patience at the plate, or a difference in approach, whatever you want to point to, whatever your opinion might be out there about the offense, for all you hitting gurus out there, I'll say this, one way or another, they've got to start scoring more runs. I think it is kind of unsustainable to continue to do what they've done this season, which is play so many close games. I mean, it's just really hard to do that over 162, and especially as you play better teams. It would be really nice for them to score more and just play some games with a little bit of breathing room and take some pressure off your bullpen. We talked about it yesterday. You look at the leaders and appearances across the major leagues, Adam, Morahone, and Estrada are all top 5 after yesterday, and Adam is tied for the most appearances in baseball. These guys are getting used a lot. So more offense one way or another, more run creation one way or another, however they got to get it done, I think would go a really long way. So I can't comment, Clay, to the patience part of it. I don't know if I totally agree with you on that. But one way or another, they've got to have better offense and score more runs. All right, let's step aside. We've got phone lines lining up. We'll get to your phone calls when we come back. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. The phone number to call if you want to get involved. We'll keep you company here on the Padres Radio Network. Again, we have a delay before first pitch. When we know more, we will keep you posted on when today's game will begin. More after this on our rain delay coverage here on the Padres Radio Network.
Late night watches, duty days, hard-fought missions. When you're running on empty, there's no room for error. Bulkhead Energy, built by heroes for heroes. Because being off your game can mean the difference between...
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up in a little bit in Washington, D.C. We do have a weather delay before first pitch, so we're keeping you company. If you want to get involved on the phones, 833-288-0973. Again, 833-288-0973 as we talk a little Padres on this Saturday afternoon. We will check in with Jesse and Tony a little bit later, so stay tuned for that. You'll hear from them. They'll provide the latest on what's going on in D.C. weather-wise and beyond. I'm sure talk about the Padres as well, so we'll keep you company until first pitch. We don't have a ton of info for you beyond that right now. There's rain, there's weather in D.C., and until we get today's game underway, we will keep you company. We appreciate you joining us here on the Padres Radio Network, on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream, as well as we continue to keep you company and take your phone calls. Let's go to Don in Point Loma. Hi, Don. You're on the Padres Radio Network. Go ahead.
Hey, Sammy. How are you doing? Love your show.
You got it.
It's kind of like the old days with anyways, the question I wanted to ask is I was noticing in yesterday's game, it seems like a lot of the hitters for the Pods were letting the first pitch go by, especially with Arise and a couple of the other ones, and they seem to be straight down the middle. Is this something that they are doing, or it just seems like these pitchers, like you say, with high ERAs, they always seem to want to get that first pitch right there, and nobody seems to be swinging at it.
Yeah, Don, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. That's basically my question.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know if Arise. Well, the one thing I was going to say is Arise seems to always likes to let the first pitch go.
Yeah.
Before he gets into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Don, look, Arise tends to take a lot first pitch and have that statue take. I don't know how consistent it is game to game. I feel like you go game to game, and there are times where they're more aggressive and times where they're a little bit more patient. I'll give you the same kind of speech that I gave the caller before our last commercial break, which is, to me, I never pretend to be the hitting guru. But to me, it's about just one way or another, whether you want to look at a more aggressive approach, a more patient approach, whatever it may be. To me, it's about this team just playing better offensive baseball. And yesterday they scored 7 runs. They did that in the 9th inning. They had a really big hit for Manny, who's been terrific this year, when they absolutely needed it. They need to play better offensive baseball and score more runs. Again, I think it's so important for them as a team as far as winning games and getting to where they want to go, but also taking pressure off their bullpen and hitting opposing starting pitchers that they should be able to handle a bit better than they have at times this year. So, Don, to be honest with you, it's hard for me to pinpoint. Look, there are so many different offensive approaches and ways to look at an at-bat and an approach. I feel like when a team is overly aggressive, then you have fans saying that they should be working counts more and working a pitcher and grinding down a pitcher more. And then when guys are swinging early, or I should say when guys are or more patient at the plate, then you have people looking at it, well, hey, that first pitch fastball was right down the middle. Why didn't you swing? It's hard for me, to be honest with you, from an analysis standpoint to really get on offensive approach. There are clear situations to me where I think as a fan, you can look at it and it can be pretty obvious, but look, sometimes, the strategy may be to grind a guy down, to work counts, to work an at bat. There are other times where, hey, first pitch fastball, hard of the plate, you're ready to fire, and guys do. So look, I think the Padres overall tend to be a more patient team. So we'll see. But to your point, look, Arise tends to swing the bat a lot, but he tends to work pretty long at bats. So, Don, that's a good question. I don't know that I have a great answer for you as far as approach, or if you're noticing guys taking a lot of first pitch strikes and why that may be. But, look, again, to me, one way or another, they just got to score more runs, whatever the approach might be. Let's go to Alex calling in. Alex, or Alan, it might be. I'm not sure which. Alex or Alan? You're on the Padres Radio Network.
Alex.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Alex. All right. I was right the first time. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious as to what you thought about maybe the Padres going and shopping Jaron Duran. I mean, that'd be awesome for us to have him. right?
Yeah, Alex, I've talked about it a ton on the post-game coverage. We've had a lot of calls about Duran. I'll tell you what I think about Duran. He's a really nice player. He had a great season last year. He has not had as great of a season this year. I think last year is probably the best you're going to see Duran, and maybe he can replicate that again. My thing about Duran is this. I think for a long-term play, makes a ton of sense because then you roll out for the next couple of years an outfield of Tatis, Merrill, and Duran. And that's a really good place to start. And for this season and potentially moving forward as well, Gavin Sheets doesn't have to go play left field, right? I think ideally you'd rather him just be a DH and not have to go play left field, although to his credit, he's done a nice job out there defensively as of late. I like the idea from the perspective of, hey, a starting outfield the next couple of years of Merrill, Tatis, and Duran, that's a really good young outfield. Not really good. That's a great young outfield. I mean, there are a lot of teams that would, do a lot of things to have that kind of outfield, right? So I like it from that perspective. There are two aspects of it that I don't love with Duran. Number one, I don't know that the Padres need to take that kind of swing. I mean, that's going to cost major prospect capital. It is. I mean, I don't see how you're going to be able to make that trade without parting with a guy like Ethan Salas. I don't know that the system is strong enough at the current moment. It's not in the spot that it was a year ago where you're going to be able to make that kind of deal without parting with one of your two top prospects. I don't believe they're going to trade DeVries. Maybe Salas is a little bit more attainable for other teams right now, but you'd also be dealing Salas, I think, at kind of a low value right now. If you're going to deal him, I'd almost like him to play a little bit better and show a little bit more at the minor league level than he has right now. And look, Salas is a whole different conversation. He's so young. I think there's still so much to be learned about Ethan Salas and to be evaluated and see how he does in the next year or two. I don't know if I'm AJ that I'm trying to take that big a swing is my point. To me, I'd almost rather try to go after a guy who isn't going to cost you a whole lot, but can at least provide some more offense and maybe more importantly, some power. Like Luis Robert is really intriguing to me because number one, I don't think he's going to cost a ton. And number two, at least he's got a lot of power. Like there's a lot of power there. And I feel like you can get him for not very much. So like if you're asking me if you could go get a power hitting left fielder who at least can provide pop, let's say Robert, for example, or a Duran who I think is going to cost a lot more for this season in particular, I probably take Robert. I do, because I think this team could use more power. I'd rather kind of, go get Robert at a lower price than take this big swing on Duran. Wait, I'm not totally sure what he's going to be over the next couple of years. His peak has been really high. He's a good player, and that's a good outfield. But I don't know that I would be trying to take that big a swing and also have to potentially part with one of my top prospects, in a Salas or DeVries to go get it done. Because I do think you're probably going to have to, I can't imagine they would trade DeVries at this point with what I've heard about him. But I think you're going to have to give up major prospects, assets, major prospects to go get that done. And to me, I don't know that I would try to take that big a swing, although it would give you a really promising outfield. I just feel like you could go, this team is good enough where you could go get some power at a lower price. And I think for your purposes this season, it would provide enough. I really don't want them to touch those top two guys. And I don't want to even really gut the rest. Just think like a guy like Robert makes a lot of sense to me, right? I don't think he's going to cost that much. He's got power. There's a lot of talent in there. Like, to me, can he catch fire for a couple of months? Maybe. I would take that risk if you could go get him for a lower price. To me personally, Duran would be nice if they did it. I'm not going to sit here and complain. But I just don't know that you need that big a swing right now, to me. For Duran, if you're talking about another guy, maybe. But for Duran, I don't know. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Let's go to who are we going to? Let's go to Gonzo in OB. Our friend Gonzo, loyal listener, calling in. Hi, Gonzo.
Sammy, my boy, happy Saturday.
Hey, Gonzo, happy Saturday.
Dude, the tan looks really good on you. Looks like you're enjoying some Ocean Beach.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You're one of a few people to say to me lately that I'm looking good. So I appreciate it. I may have, dropped a few pounds. I'm not sure. Maybe, look, I do the moisturizer. I've got this cooling eye kit that I'm using with this little metal thing that I scrape my face with. So I'm doing some things, Gonzo. I appreciate you noticing.
Oh, yeah. And SDFatLoss.com.
Yeah, you know what? I haven't done that. However, some people at our station have, and they have had rave results. So I recommend people check it out. But I can't say I did something I didn't do. I've not done.
You're always good, brother.
Yeah, I haven't done SD fat loss, but we have had people here at the station that have done it and have looked great after it. So hey, you know what? So whatever you got to do. Hey, it's always good to be active and get healthier. So we'll take that.
Need that pickleball for sure.
You know it.
But you said rave results. So do you have a bold prediction for the rest of our 2025 season here? I want to know how you feel about it.
Yeah, you know what, Gonzo? It's a good question. If I had to make a prediction, I think this team is going to play well down the stretch. I think they're going to be in one of these wild card spots. I do. I mean, look, if the season ended today, they're in there, and they're a game and a half up right now. And to me, they have not played nearly their best baseball for an extended period of time now. They've dealt with major injuries in their rotation. Darvish is back. Hopefully, King comes back at some point before the end of August. To me, all things considered, they're in a pretty good spot. And I don't feel like they've played very good baseball as of late. Certainly not their best baseball. So, look, people asked me over the break how I considered the first half of the season. And even though there were a lot of ups and downs and aesthetically it wasn't super pleasing to watch, and a lot of that has to do with the offense and the lack thereof at times, the bottom line is, you know what? You look up, they're in a wild card spot. I think it was a real success the first half, considering the offensive struggles, considering the issues towards the bottom of the lineup, considering the pitching injuries. Like, to be where they are, I think it's pretty good. So I gotta think that they will play better, especially from an offensive standpoint, the rest of the way. So to me, I think their best baseball is yet to come. And for that reason, I think they're going to have a really nice finish. I do. I think they're going to be in a wild card spot. Look, to go out on a limb and say they're going to go win the division and chase down the Dodgers, I think that might be going out on a limb a little too much, although you never know if they get as hot as they did last year in the second half. But I think it's safe to say, yeah, my prediction is they're going to play well, and they're going to be a postseason team, and you take it from there, because I don't think they've played near their best baseball over the last couple of months, and you look where they are, and they're in a good spot. So it's a good question, Gonzo, and we'll see how it plays out. All right, let's step aside. When we come back, more of your phone calls. We will check in with Jesse and Tony in a little over 10 minutes. So stay tuned for that. Again, rain delay programming. We're with you until today's game begins in Washington, D.C. You're listening to a rain delay theater, if you will, right here on the Padres Radio Network.
Cask & Co's Premium California Bourbon is San Diego's award-winning craft bourbon. Smooth and
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for today's game. Again, we're in a weather delay before first pitch in Washington, D.C. We will check in with Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. at 4:15. So stay with us. In about 10 minutes, we'll have our first check-in of the afternoon with Jesse and Tony. Maybe they'll have a good weather update for us. We'll see. One can only hope, but we'll keep you company here on the Padres Radio Network until the middle game of this three-game series begins. Again, our scheduled starting pitching matchup, Yu Darvish for the Padres and left-hander Mitchell Parker on the mound for the Washington Nationals. Phone number to call, 833-288-0973. Again, 833-0973. The phone number to call if you want to get involved on this Saturday as we keep you company. Let's quickly pause for station ID on the Padres Radio Network.
KWFN and KWFN HD1 San Diego.
What's up? This is Jeremiah Estrada. You're listening to Padres Baseball on the Padres Radio Network.
And Odyssey Sports Station.
Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we keep you company on this Saturday during our rain delay programming here on the Padres Radio Network. All right, let's squeeze a few more phone calls in before we get things out to Jesse and Tony for a check-in with them live from D.C. Let's go to Daniel calling in. Daniel, you're on the Padres Radio Network with Sam Levitt. Go ahead.
Hey, Sam. Thank you so much for taking my call. I appreciate it.
You got it.
Hey, I am curious to hear your thoughts. It's kind of a two-parter question. I really enjoyed seeing the ABS challenging system in play during the All-Star game. And I'm curious, just your thoughts in general about some of these changes, potential changes coming to the game. But in relation to the Padres, I'm curious, and this is purely speculative, obviously, but with Darvish on the mound, you mentioned he's been having, some problems taking control in his last two starts. But I'm curious if he had if he had the ability to challenge some of those strike calls they were called balls. I'm curious if you think that would have given him the confidence to maybe kind of find his groove and have a better start.
Yeah, I'll answer it in two parts. I don't know how much impact it would have had on Yu Darvish in the last couple of starts and his first couple of starts of this season. Look, I'd have to really dig in and review how many missed calls he had. So that's a tough one to answer, Daniel, to be honest with you. However, I'll give you the wider answer. On the ABS system, I like it. Now, when I say I like it, I mean, I like what seems to be coming, maybe even next year, according to what Rob Manfred had to say over the All-Star break, which is the challenge system. I saw it during spring training. I like it. I think it's really easy. I think it's really simple. I don't think it slows down the game. I think it adds a little excitement to the game. I love the way they put the animation up on the scoreboard and they let you see what's going on. Much like in tennis with in, out, you can see exactly where the pitch is. To me, it adds a little drama. So I like it from that perspective. I really, really do. I don't want a total automatic ball strike system. I don't want robo umps. I really don't. I like the human element of it. I do like the challenge system. I think it adds a little something. I think it, will continue to hold umpires accountable behind the plate because there's going to be a way for players to challenge and kind of hold those guys accountable to make sure they're on their game back there. So I'm all for the challenge system. I've seen enough of it where I really, really like it. Although you're going to never find me a proponent of the full out robo umps ABS system. I like the human element of it. I don't think it's necessary. I don't mind the game being imperfect in elements. I don't as a fan, but I like the challenge system. I do. Look, I also think if the full on ABS system ever came, I think it would be not as fun as people think, because I think it would totally change the way we view the game, because I think there would be a ton of pitches that don't look like strikes that are strikes. I think it would really, really rock the game. So ABS challenge system, I'm in. I've seen enough. The overall ABS system, they can leave that. But look, it sounds like the challenge system is coming. We do have an update for you. Today's game will begin at 4:50 p.m. Pacific time here in San Diego. So that's the update we have for you. 4:50 p.m. first pitch here in San Diego, 7:50 local time in Washington, D.C. So we'll get our details sorted out for you. Let you know when we're going to officially start today's broadcast. But 4:50 p.m. local time here in San Diego is when today's game will begin. So that's good news. Not a terribly long delay before first pitch. And again, we'll check in with Jesse and Tony in a little bit here as well. Let's squeeze in one more phone call before we do that. Let's go to, I think this is Brent calling in. Brent, you're on the Padres Radio Network.
Yeah.
Hey, is this Brent? It's Brent. I think I got that one wrong. Let's see. You know what? I'm looking at my old list here. I'm sorry. I think this is Doug. Doug, you're on the Padres Radio Network. Hello.
Hey, Sam.
Hey, there we go. Sorry, Doug. I was looking at my wrong list. Go ahead.
No worries. Hey, I appreciate you taking the call.
Yeah.
And I want to get your take on kind of this probably perceived bias by me about the national reference or national implications for the Padres. Because like last night, all I see on highlights are Acuna's great throw, catch and throw out. But I feel like Tatis did the same thing. I just didn't see much highlighted on him. And then, is there a perceived bias, or is this my bias?
Doug, I don't think so. I mean, I saw I'll pull up my Instagram right now. I'm going to do this for you right now. I'm going to pull up my Instagram because I believe I saw MLB post about this on Instagram. Let me see here. We're going to do this on the radio. Not that this is great radio. But let me see here. I'm almost positive they posted his throw, didn't they? They did. So, Doug, I mean, look, the Acuna throw yesterday was awesome. It was a great throw. And by the way, Vivas, the runner for the Yankees, going second to third, not sliding. I don't know why he's not sliding there. I don't know why the third base coach for the Yankees is not on his stomach, waving Vivas to the ground. I mean, under no circumstance should he be standing there going into third base. But, Doug, I do want to be fair. I don't think there's, look, is there such thing as East Coast bias? As somebody who grew up on the East Coast, I will tell you, as somebody who now works on the West Coast and talks about a team on the West Coast, I do think there is such thing as East Coast bias. In this case, with the throws yesterday, I do want to be fair. MLB posted Tatis's throw too, and I'm sure they had a tweet about it as well. So I'm looking at an Instagram post of the throw. They did post Acuna's throw as well, which Acuna made an awesome throw. So I don't think yesterday was a great example of it, Doug, as far as East Coast bias, but do I think it's a thing that exists? Yeah, I do. As somebody who grew up on the East Coast and now lives out here and talks about a team here, I do. I think it's a thing. But yesterday, I don't think was really an example of it. I think Tatis got his shine yesterday on social media. So as he should have. It was a great throw, and he's one of the best in the game defensively in the outfield, if not the best. The Platinum Glover, Fernando Tatis Jr. All right, let's step aside. When we come back, we'll do a quick check-in with Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. Again, we do have a first pitch time. Today's game beginning at 4:50 in Washington, D.C. Again, 7:50 local in D.C., 4:50 here in California. So we'll check in with Jesse and Tony. We'll take things back. We'll reset things, do a little secondary pregame, if you will, for those of you who missed some of our pregame elements a little bit earlier. And then we'll send things back to Jesse and Tony before today's game in D.C. Let's quickly step aside here on the Padres Radio Network.
This is Dan Fulkerson with Bada Fulkerson Law Group, San Diego's favorite personal injury law firm. Here to help if you're ever in a car accident, motorcycle accident, or dog bite situation. You can always reach us, 619-333-5555.
Hey, it's Gravy, and I've been a member of Kaiser Permanente for 7 years now. And one of the reasons that I have kept with Kaiser Permanente is because of the convenience. Everything is under one roof. Last year I had shoulder surgery, and right now it feels the best it's felt in years. I got my MRI, I checked in with my orthopedic surgeon, I got my surgery, and completed my physical therapy all under one roof. It is that easy. Visit kp.org/San Diego to learn more. Kaiser Permanente, for all that is you.
Tony Gwynn Jr. here. The baseball season is upon us, which means long days and restless nights. So I spoke to my friends at Symbiotico, who recommended I take their best-selling magnesium L-threonate daily. And let me tell you, my sleep is deeper, I wake up feeling refreshed, and my mind is sharper. If you're struggling with restless nights or brain fog, this is your game changer. Want to feel the same? Go to Symbiotica.com and use code Padres for 15% off plus shipping site-wide. That's Symbiotica.com, code Padres for 15% off.
Comfort Bros Heating, Air, and Plumbing wants to help you get ready for summer with a $29 AC maintenance special. That's right, only $29. Visit ComfortBros.com to book an appointment. Comfort Bros Heating, Air, and Plumbing. Service that makes mom proud.
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. We do have a first pitch time for the middle game of this 3-game series between the Padres and the Nationals. First pitch coming your way at 4:50 p.m. here in California, 7:50 p.m. local time in Washington, D.C. Let's send things out for the first time today. We go out to Jesse and Tony at Nationals Park in D.C. Hi, guys.
Hello, Sammy, and welcome to the rain delay of July 2025. Not a drop, not a single drop, but a big storm in the area, Tony. I guess looking at the AccuJesse earlier, it was kind of off to the north. We saw some big lightning bolts about an hour ago. Certainly you want to go safety first, but I think the issue here tonight was basically they were concerned that cell that was to the north of here, and in fairness, it was not particularly far to the north, but it was to the north, was going to come this way and interrupt the baseball game. But that did not happen, and so we've had one of the drier rain delays in Major League history.
Yeah, it happens from time to time. I think had we, been in that 2020 year, no one was coming in, we probably would have played through it, but always protecting the fans that could possibly be sitting in the seat, especially with lightning and thunder in the area. So it has been a very dry delay nonetheless, but looks like we're going to get some baseball in that after all.
That said, when the schedule came out, last August or whatever it was, and we saw this road trip, there was a 0% chance of getting through these 10 games without some kind of rain delay.
It would be a topic of conversation if we got out of this series and we didn't have some type of delay. Well, we got our delay here on game 2 of this 3-game set. Maybe we get another one. You never know when you're on the East Coast, especially in the summertime. These cells tend to pop up, but all dry here in D.C.
In fact, the tarp is off the field. The grounds crew is just kind of raking. And both starting pitchers are standing in the outfield, loosening up a little bit. Mitchell Parker is in right field. Yu Darvish is in left field. Padres, by the way, going to wear the brown tops tonight, kind of Darvish's thing on the road. We don't see them too often. And the Nats, once again, are going to be in their light blue City Connect uniforms here today. So, yeah, just kind of navigating the weather a little bit and waiting things out, but no big deal. And, of course, the last time we had a rain delay at Nationals Park was in the middle of Dylan Cease's no-hitter, or I guess maybe in the second inning of Dylan Cease's no-hitter. So who knows? Perhaps we get something like that again here tonight with Yu Darvish on the mound, and obviously getting you back a big boost to this team, making his third start back here tonight. We have not yet seen old Yu Darvish in 2025, but probably unfair to have expected that at this point. But certainly getting closer, I think, to when we can expect to see normal Yu Darvish.
Yeah, we've seen a steady progression from Yu, and I think that's normal. I mean, given the amount of time that he missed, I mean, we're going all the way back to spring training before he actually made a start. And so we've seen the first 2 starts gradually get a little bit better. And I fully expect that's where we'll continue to see. I don't know if he makes a huge jump in terms of the efficiency that we're used to seeing from Darvish, but I do fully expect that it continues to trend in an upwards trajectory as he gets more and more starts under his belt.
All right, so that is, again, the story from D.C. First pitch delay 1 minute or so. They told us they'd like to get underway at about 7:50 local. So obviously 4:50 back home. And the funny thing is the skies right now about as friendly looking as they have been at any point in the last couple of days. So hopefully a lovely evening for baseball now that the weather is moving on. And Sam, that's kind of the story from the nation's capital. And send it back to you for a little bit more. And we'll be back with hopefully uninterrupted baseball before you know it.
All right, Jesse, thank you very much for the update. Good insight there. We'll send things back to Jesse and Tony at 4:40 p.m. here in California. Again, 7:50 first pitch local time in Washington, D.C., 4:50 first pitch here in San Diego. So we're creeping up now towards first pitch for the middle game of this 3-game series. So this is what we'll do up until 4:40. We'll come back. We'll have some pregame analysis for you. We'll revisit some of the things we talked about a little bit earlier, get you all set up again for the middle game of this series. And we'll also hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. If you missed a little bit earlier, we'll sort of reset things here, get back into the pregame mode, if you will, as we get ready for first pitch in Washington, D.C. Our extended edition of today's EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues after this on the Padres Radio Network.
Late night watches, duty days, hard-fought missions. When you're running on empty, there's no room for error. Bulkhead Energy, built by heroes.
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we continue to get you ready for first pitch in today's game between the Nationals and the Padres. First pitch coming up at 4:50 p.m. Pacific time, 7:50 local time in D.C. Again, like you heard from Jesse and Tony, we sort of had a rain delay in D.C. They were expecting potentially some very harmful weather that's would have really done a number on the early portion of today's game. The good news is that weather mostly stayed away, but they were cautious, and we did have a weather delay. It doesn't really sound like it was much of a rain delay, but an anticipated weather delay in D.C., but you get it. You certainly understand it from the grounds crew perspective. Look, you don't want to start a game, get the pitchers all warmed up in the game, and then have to immediately pause due to weather. So, you know what? Is what it is, and today's game will start a little bit later than originally scheduled. In fact, it'll start right now, what's scheduled to be an hour and 5 minutes later than the regularly scheduled first pitch time, but that's okay. Padres going for a second straight win in Washington, D.C. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt once again in just a little bit. Padres entered today 53-44. They entered today sitting in the National League's final wild card spot. Meanwhile, the Nationals are 38-59. Nationals are really struggling right now. They've lost 5 in a row in 9 out of their last 10 games. They were outscored 70-31 in that 10-game span. Since the beginning of June, the Nationals are just 10-29. It has been a rough go as of late for the Nats, and as we've discussed a number of times already in this series, they fired Mike Rizzo, their longtime general manager. They fired Davey Martinez, their longtime manager, the last time the Padres saw them in late June, and the Padres now playing the second game of their 10-game road trip to D.C., Miami, and they finish up the road trip in St. Louis with 4 games there over the course of next weekend. Padres winning yesterday's game by a final of 7-2. Before we hear from Mike Shildt, let's revisit some of the hot hitters for the Padres right now. They have really 3 guys that you'll focus on right now as guys who are swinging the bat really well. Number 1 is Manny Machado. He has 5 home runs and 13 RBIs in 13 games during July. Only Kyle Stowers of the Miami Marlins has more RBIs in the National League this month, entering today. Only Stowers and Kyle Schwarber entered today with more home runs in the NL this month. Fernando Tatis Jr., he is swinging the bat real well as of late. He's sitting .385 in a 7-game hitting streak. He's also reached base safely in 16 consecutive games, a .430 in that 16-game span. We talked with Tony Gwynn Jr. a little bit earlier about Xander Bogaerts. He's swinging the bat well, too. He's hitting .396 in his last 15 games. As far as the Nationals, got to keep an eye on C.J. Abrams. He's now hitting .307 with a home run in a 6-game hitting streak. He's hitting .305 against his former team in the Padres and nearly 60 at-bats against them in his career. And one guy, as always, to keep an eye on in this Nationals lineup, James Wood, who is of course, back in the lineup today for Washington, playing left field and batting second. Wood is 0 for 14 with 11 strikeouts in his last 4 games. He's 3 for 27 with 16 strikeouts in 7 career games against the Padres, with all those 3 hits coming in a game at Petco Park earlier this year. But again, James Wood, obviously very, very promising young player. He's had a great, great year. He is, though, 0 for 14 in his last 4 games. Well, Padres manager Mike Shildt spoke with the media earlier today. We did play this a little bit earlier on our pregame coverage. But again, for those of you just joining us during our rain delay programming, thought why not revisit what Mike had to say before today's game. Here was Mike Shildt with the media in Washington a little bit earlier.
Mike, can we just reflect on last night's ball game? I know you guys work on stuff all the time, but still to see the execution like you guys did with so many different aspects of the game last night, how reaffirming is that of the process that you guys are going?
Yeah, I mean, we play a lot of good baseball, and execution is the bottom line of this game, right? The best teams to execute consistently are going to be teams that shake the hands most consistently, and last night was on display, and just a good overall baseball game, all the way around. The defensive side of it was really good. Toddy's throw was great. The play that was a sneaky, great baseball play was Wandy stepping off, checking the runner, giving it up to Bogey, and Bogey recognizing based on his speed and where the runner was, how to accelerate there and not give up the ground to the chance for home. So that was a good, great baseball play. Diaz twice with the safety squeezes, did his part, got it down. Ideally on the first base side, harder to defend that way. And then nice touch to it against some tougher guys. But then the third base reads from Bogey and Crony were outstanding as well. So, a lot of good things took place in the game yesterday.
Especially satisfying coming back off the break. I mean, all those things got tested right away.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there was no kind of ease back into it, 4 days off, whatever could happen. No, guys showed up ready to go and enjoyed their break rightfully, and time to get after it, and they got after it last night and expect to do the same today.
You mentioned the throw by Fernando. Can you just talk for a moment about his arm and how fun it is to see him do what he's capable of doing, and still any surprise that guys still challenge him at times?
Yeah, I mean, listen, people are going to take their shot, and make them make a play. But the thing that's impressive about Toddy of many things is, the skill set's unbelievable. The arm is clearly a shutdown arm, but it's the ability to get himself in the right position, throw, get it out of it, quickly, and then the accuracy is really impressive as well. And the ability to throw with accuracy regardless of arm angle is amazing.
You, Darvish, going for you. How positive has it been to see his progress in these first 2 ball games?
Very, very much so. When you see a guy with that kind of presence, that kind of, history and what he means to our club on the mound, just means a lot. And so, and then to go out and see him perform is also important, and him recovering and like he's recovered and being able to take the ball has been nice as well. And look forward to seeing him pitch tonight.
Jake has been hitting lefties a lot better, getting on against lefties a lot better than say the last couple of years at least. What does that do for you?
Ton. Listen, always feel like Jake is an everyday player. Manny, Bogey, Toddy, Sheets is turning that everyday guy. There's matchups, righty versus and lefties that are tough on the same side, and but Jake's really done a nice job, and I loved his approach last night. And he got the bunt down against the lefty, and said, "Okay, I'm going to do this, and use this moment here." And then he stayed on the ball, the other way consistently. And not that that's an absolute, but it's big. So him being able to have those consistent at bats and have productive at bats all throughout our lineup is going to be important, righty or lefty.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today inside the Padres dugout. We'll hear more from Mike on our post-game coverage coming up later on this evening. Again, first pitch coming up at 4:50 in Washington, D.C., 7:50 local time in D.C., but 4:50 here in San Diego. We'll step aside when we come back. A quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard one more time before today's game begins, and we'll also break down today's starting pitching matchup between left-hander Mitchell Parker and right-hander Yu Darvish. On the mound for the Padres, we go out to Jesse and Tony at 4:40. We'll have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and then all the play-by-play at 4:50. Our pregame coverage continues after this.
This is Dan Fulkerson with Bada Fulkerson Law Group, San Diego's favorite personal injury law firm.
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for today's game. First pitch coming up at 4:50 between the Padres and the Washington Nationals in the middle game of this three-game series. Padres winning yesterday by a final score of 7-2. Of course, the Padres had a 2-0 lead in that game. C.J. Abrams, a 2-run home run in the bottom half of the eighth inning to tie the game at 2. Padres responding with a 5-run top of the ninth inning, including the first grand slam of the season from Manny Machado. I should specify first Padres grand slam of any kind this season, but it came at exactly the right time, gave the Padres a big lead. They go on to win it 7-2 yesterday. Padres now looking for a second consecutive win to begin the ceremonial second half. Again, the Padres will play 2 more in Washington, including today, 3 against the Marlins Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in Miami. That Marlins team, don't get fooled by the record. They're playing good baseball right now. They've won 2 in a row to begin their second half. We'll take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard one final time here on the pregame in a moment. And then they finish up the 10-game road trip with 4 games in St. Louis Thursday to Sunday. Then they come back home to play the Mets beginning next Monday, 3-game series. Day off Thursday, 3 games to begin August against the Cardinals, August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd over the course of that weekend. So a lot of excitement coming up on the schedule, and we'll see how the Padres continue to do. They enter today sitting in the National League's final wild card spot. Quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Saturday. We have 3 finals today. Marlins beat the Royals 3-1. Reds beat the Mets 5-2 in New York, and the Blue Jays beat the Giants already today in Toronto by a final score of 6-3. A lot of games going on right now. Angels ahead of the Phillies 3-2 in Philadelphia in the 5th inning. Pirates lead the White Sox 2-0 in Pittsburgh in the 4th inning. Orioles lead the Rays 2-0 in Tampa Bay in the 2nd. Tigers and the Rangers in Arlington in the 2nd. They're scoreless there. A's and the Guardians in Cleveland in the 2nd in Cleveland. They are scoreless there. Yankees and the Braves in Atlanta in the 2nd. They're scoreless there as well. Cubs lead the Red Sox 2-0 at Wrigley Field in the first inning. Diamondbacks lead the Cardinals 3-0 in Arizona in the first inning. Games yet to begin. Twins and the Rockies in Colorado at 5:10. Brewers and the Dodgers in LA at 6:10. And finally, the Astros and the Mariners in Seattle at 6:40 coming up later on this evening. A final look at our starting pitching matchup today. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres. He's 38 years old. He makes his third start since returning from the IL earlier this month after being sidelined with an elbow injury since spring training. His last start, that was Saturday against the Phillies. He went 4 2/3 innings, 4 runs given up on 83 pitches. Remember, he didn't make his 2025 debut until July 7th. That came against the Diamondbacks. He gave up 2 runs in 3 2/3 innings. The command for you has been a little tough to begin this season, but probably as expected as he continues to work his way back. 6 walks allowed, and he's also hit 2 batters in 8+ combined innings. This will be Yu Darvish's 5th career start against the Nationals, his 4th as a San Diego Padre. Yu Darvish on the mound today for the Padres, making his 3rd start of 2025. Meanwhile, left-hander Mitchell Parker on the mound for the Nationals today in 2025 so far. 5-10, a 5.12 ERA, 19 starts, 102 innings. He's allowed 105 hits. His last start in Milwaukee on Friday allowed a season-high 7 earned runs in 4 2/3 innings. Parker is 2-9 with a 6.85 ERA in his last 14 starts. However, that's after he had a 1.39 ERA in his first 5 starts of the season. But here's the thing. We talked about this earlier. One of the 2 wins he's had in that 14-game span, that was against the Padres on June 23rd. He was really good in San Diego earlier this season, gave up just 3 runs in 6 innings of work. And we had a caller earlier on our rain delay coverage ask me about the Padres offense. And one thing I said, and I'll say it again here, is the Padres would be well suited to start beating up on opposing starting pitchers that they should be able to handle. Yesterday, a good example, Mike Soroka has not had a great year for the Washington Nationals. He's been okay, but not a great year. Padres only got 1 run against them on a sac fly in 5 innings. Today, Mitchell Parker, despite being good against the Padres earlier this season, this should be a guy that the Padres hypothetically can hit. Why? Well, Parker has allowed the highest hard hit percentage in the majors this season among pitchers that have thrown at least 80 innings. His hard hit percentage is almost at 50%. So this is a guy that typically teams can hit and hit hard, and we'll see if the Padres can do that today. So Mitchell Parker on the mound for the Nationals, Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres. Again, the Padres come in a record of 53-44. The Nats come in at 38-59. Padres winning the series and road trip opener yesterday by a final score of 7-2, and we'll see if the Padres can make it 2 wins in a row to begin the ceremonial second half here today. When we come back, Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr. have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play live from Washington, D.C. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.